So there are, a few important points that we should keep in mind when we are getting introduced to literature as a subject. We are maybe some of us planning to take it as a major, at least a few of us. We should understand why we study literature at all. So here are a few prompts. The one primary purpose to study literature is to understand ourselves. How does it happen? It happens because when we read any literary text, we get lot many examples to which we can relate ourselves. So there are characters with whom we can compare and contrast ourselves. Actually, we do it without realizing it. While we understand others, right, other people, other characters, or other situations, we get time and opportunity to reflect on ourselves. That enhances our understanding about ourselves. Also, literature provides us an opportunity to reflect over the motivations, actions, thoughts, and ideas of other people. And thereby, we get deeper insight into people. So it is, very common observation that many of the uh, community leaders and political leaders who have some influence, they are great readers of literature. So you might have noticed that maybe we do not have always a reading culture in every society, but the societies which have a reading culture, we would see their political leaders having a very effective reading list. So you might have observed that uh, the former president in the US, Barack Obama, he used to generate and he used to put on Facebook on his web page on his Facebook page the list of the best books that he read in a particular year. That shows that the people who have influence on society, they are good readers of literature, because that gives them an opportunity to understand other people. Another reason to study literature is that it also provides escape and gives you entertainment. Also, literature helps us to get a perspective, to gain a perspective. What is that? So, as we live our lives, always we come across uncertain situations and unexpected situations in such a manner that it is very easy for us to get disoriented, to lose, the sense of purpose, or to lose a meaning, broadly speaking, to lose a meaning in our life. Because literature is a very deep reading of human actions, human motivations. Literature has that potential to restore our faith in life and to restore our perspective about the life. So we can put everything which is in a disorderly fashion in our lives, we can put everything in an orderly perspective, so that we start thinking about the chaotic happenings in our lives as the continuity of a plan. For example, if a lot of chaotic happenings take place and continue to take place, and unexpected situations continue to emerge in our, in our real lives with a particular perspective, with one particular perspective that can develop from reading of a particular text. And in fact, that perspective comes from a novelist called James Joyce. He wrote lot many novels, and he used to say that life, the real life is stranger than fiction. Now, when I read this statement for the first time, it was a little surprise, because I always thought that literary text, a novel, a film, or a piece of fiction, they are always strange. They depict the life as unreal. But here is a novelist who is telling us something opposite to that. And he says that life is stranger than fiction. And the reason that he gives is that fiction is just one man's understanding or one woman's understanding of very little experience that that person had in their life. However, life is too big, right? So therefore, his argument was that fiction is just a very small particle of the total life that we live. Even then, we find fiction so strange sometimes. So that should give us an idea how strange the real life would be if just a little representation of that could be that strange and that fantastical and that unexpected. Right? So we can't create anything out of nothing, right? So the fiction that we have, the novels, the short stories, even if they appear to be unreal, yet they didn't come out of nothing, right? They come out of our life and our life experiences. So James Joyce's point was that life is stranger than fiction, because fiction is just a very, very little representation of the total life that we live. Now, if we look at the chaotic happenings and unexpected emergencies and unexpected situations that emerge in our life, if we look at them from this perspective, that life is stranger than fiction, then probably we can have a more clear understanding of whatever is happening with our life. And we might start believing that everything unexpected that happens in our lives, it is not something unique to me. It is common with everybody. So the point is just to be prepared for the unexpected. So this is an example of gaining a perspective from a literary text or from literature. So literature, many a time, literature gives us those perspectives to look at the life from a fresh viewpoint. And that kind of gives us consolation. That gives us more hope and positivity in our lives. Literature also helps us to empathize with people. So if you are a good reader of literature, because when we read literature, we read about people. And the more we read about people, the better we understand them. And once we understand people, we are able to understand their emotions as well, right? And thereby we become capable of feeling the same way other people feel. That is what empathy means. So we learn to feel the same way other people feel. Is that a positive emotion? Yes, to some extent it is a positive emotion. Empathy is a positive emotion. Why? Because it connects people together. And that results in what we call community. So there is a a greater sense of community uh, in the society where people are more prone to read literature. And this last point of community building also works in other ways too. Sometimes deliberately, people use literary texts or literature in order to create communities. How so? People organize various events around literary texts. So some of you might have heard about Lahore Literary Festival, right? LLF, or Karachi Literary Festival. They had a literary festival in Faisalabad last week. Those are examples which are close to where you live. All across the world, there are events which are based upon literature. So people come together, they meet with each other, they talk to each other based upon their literary interests. And I'm sure you can clearly see how that practice of people coming together, talking to each other about various literary texts, that itself is a practice of creating community. People also arrange or organize book clubs. Book clubs are also a great way to develop community. Similarly, libraries, they provide uh, a space for community. People come there, sit together, read the books and discuss them. Right? So this is a kind of, very general idea of, and, it is based upon the reading I shared with you already. Why should we study literature? So we should study literature to understand ourselves, to understand others, to get an escape or get entertainment, to develop a perspective about life, and to empathize with other people and to build community.